please handle item?
CYMPO complies with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and related non-discrimination statutes and regulations in all programs and activities. Members of the public may review the CYMPO Title VI plan and submit a self-identification survey by accessing the CYMPO website.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 4, call to the public. This item is to provide an opportunity for presentation of comments by the public on subjects not on the agenda. Individuals wishing to address the board need not request permission in advance and are limited to 3 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, is there anyone out there that wishes to speak at this time? Oh, moving on, item 5. Consideration and possible action to approve the August 17th, 2022 Executive Board regular meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Item 6, Executive Director's update, Mr. Gallegos.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Just a couple brief updates or announcements, if you will. Just want to thank the town of Chino Valley for their hospitality and hosting us. Special appreciation to Councilman Armstrong, Frank Marbury, and also you changed the entrance to Town Hall and I missed it twice, so I didn't get the memo on that, Frank. ADOT, you changed. ADOT, you changed the entrance to Town Hall and I missed it twice, but you're making up for it with these chairs that we're sitting in that I've already asked Mayor Good to do something about at City of Prescott. Last announcement, Mr. Chair, members of the board, just want to thank you all for your participation in the Rural Transportation Summit. I've attended a few meetings that have already asked, how was it that CYMPO was able to get such unanimous and strong support from our board at the summit when other MPOs and COGs had representation, but not to our degree, and the same thing to the tax. So that did make a meaningful mark, again, showing the value and importance of transportation throughout the state, but especially for our region. With that said, happy to answer any questions or comments, Mr. Chair.
We have anything for Mr. Gallegos? Moving on, item 7. It doesn't look like Mr. Adam is on. Am I correct?
Correct, Mr. Chair. If you want, just briefly, if I can.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Kevin was not able to be with us, but again, Kevin is leading the conversation along with us about our legislative ask for this next year. Just again, a reminder, we have 3 projects that you all have prioritized for the region. Number 1 being Glassford Hill widening. Number 2 being here in the town of Chino Valley on State Routes 89. Really, there's 2 projects, but it's between 3 and 5 north. We have it identified as 3 to 4 north and then 4 to 5 north. But again, those are our 3 projects that come up to around $23 million. Representative Wynn did attend the Rural Transportation Summit. He is tracking the conversation. He's aware of it. We have some candidates that are running that also attended. Selena Bliss attended the summit. I have spoken to candidate Ken Bennett for Senate. And just to let you all know that we've had nothing but positive support for all 3 of these projects. They're aware of the significance and the priority for this area, and fingers crossed. I know there was a lot of twists and turns last year, but they're definitely engaged this year. So any questions or comments, happy to answer.
I have a question, Benny.
Yes, sir.
Have we identified, or we have located apparently the money for the 8989A intersection improvement there? Yeah, we found that other $2.5 million or not?
No,
so we have, and then I've been told we haven't.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Supervisor Brown, officially we have not. Representative Wynn, I believe, has communicated with Mayor Good and myself that he felt that the monies were there, and however, he would need some assistance from staff to confirm that, and his staff is out, I believe, for 2 weeks. And when he gets back, I believe Mayor Goody is going to respond to either you or me and let us know officially. Is that a fair statement?
I have a scheduled follow-up call with Representative Wynn tomorrow after Friday afternoon. So he expects to be able to follow up and identify whether that $2.5 million is in fact available or is not.
Okay. Hopefully that helps, Supervisor Brown. So officially, we do not know that the money is there and available.
Okay, if it's located within that, will he go directly to ADOT and inform them that they have the money to proceed with the project?
Supervisor Brown, that would be the correct process. So that the 3 million that we were able to get approved last year went directly to ADOT, and they were made available of the funds. So the same thing would happen with the 2.5 million.
Okay, I just want to make sure there's no snag where this, all of a sudden a lot of time goes by and nobody does anything about it.
Mr. Chair, hopefully we're on top of it.
I share your concerns, Greg.
Anything else?
No,
Good,
sir.
thank you.
All right, moving on. Item 8, transit update. Ms. Stotler.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair,
Welcome.
members of the board, Brenda Stotler, CYMPO Planner. Quick transit update. As you all know, we have a new system that launched on September the 12th. Yava Line has been in operation for about 5 weeks. I spoke with Pedro earlier today. We reviewed statistics and ridership detail, and the ridership looks very promising with a somewhat small 4.2 trips in week 1 that doubled in week 2. In week 3, week 2's trips were doubled to 22 trips, almost 23. And week 4 growth leveled off with 2 additional trips. But at week 5 this week, 28.8 trips, which is an increase of 20% over last week. So we're seeing very good, steady increase in ridership. Positive rider feedback, according to Pedro, what he's hearing from the community. And we'll have more detailed data to come with each executive board meeting for you. YRT, I've got Transit Manager Tom Stoltz is in the audience with us today, but he sent me a ridership detail report for the closeout of federal fiscal year 22, which just ended. And the ridership from the former fiscal year was up 37%. So that is a great and significant increase over the prior year, which was, of course, impacted by COVID quite a bit. So YRT filed a letter of appeal. This is informational to the board with ADOT about exhaustion of their fuel funds. As a part of their grant, they have identified how much fuel they anticipated to need in this grant period. And obviously with fuel prices the way that they have been, we've had transit providers enduring significant increases in the expenditures of those funds. They filed an appeal. ADOT denied the appeal. CYMPO does intend to follow up with ADOT to assess what their approach will be, not just with this provider, providers who are members of the program and receive fuel funds as a part of their grant process. So they probably have to have a plan in place to address those excess fuel charges. More to follow on that. Also, Yavapai Apache Transit out of Camp Verde. I think I mentioned this in a prior transit update that they are planning on extending additional service to Western Yavapai County. They operate out of Camp Verde. They will be working with business owners in Cordes Junction, Spring Valley, Mayer, Dewey Humboldt, Prescott Valley, and Prescott on stop locations to get permissions for those. They will also be working where appropriate with those jurisdictions that are incorporated to establish intergovernmental agreements so that they can make those stops in all of those locations along the Western Highway 69 Western Yavapai route. They do intend to do that as a loop Monday through Friday daily. I think there's a lot of anticipation around these additional stops. I mentioned to Mayor Good earlier that they are intending to have a VA stop in Prescott. They also would like to have a stop along the plaza. So utilizing hopefully the same stop that YRT does. At any rate, more to follow on that. They're in the process of working out those details with the business owners first. And then just one other item, New Horizons was called upon last night because a senior center in Prescott Valley had an issue with, and a number of seniors needed to be evacuated and taken to another senior center. And from, I believe it was 6:25 that Dave Siegler and his team got the call. By 7:15, they had all of those seniors moved. Some were non-ambulatory seniors, some were even on ventilators. They were able to get that situation resolved. And Mayor Pelguda, I'm sure you're probably aware of that, but we wanted to highlight their great community service and the team that Dave brings to the table. And also Yava Line's transit buses were involved in that evacuation as well.
I believe it was 28 total,
I think so.
28
Right.
total individuals.
And that is my transit update. If you have any questions, I'm happy to respond.
Bryn, you were saying that Yava Line, the most recent week was 28.8 trips.
28.8 trips.
So that's after what, 4 weeks since launch?
That's the completion of week 5, according to Pedro.
First
And
couple weeks, if I may, ma'am, we were working out some communication issues with the app, just working out the bugs. As you can see, I think our first week we were at 5. So if you
yeah,
take
Well-
off the first couple weeks, the ride ship or the trips is starting to increase.
actual increase from beginning to the end of week 5 is like 575%. So it's like a crazy number, but
Yeah.
just to put it in context for you, it's gone from 4.2 trips to 28.8.
Can only go up from there.
200% increase, so hard to maintain those percentage improvements.
Anything else for Ms. Stotler?
Tell me more about the fuel funds being exhausted. What does it apply to, and how much time is left in their allocation period?
Each of the programs, 5310, 5311, 5307, have a fuel component as a part of the grant. And I believe maybe I would invite Tom to come up and help me with the time period that you're working within. I think from a prior conversation, Tom, you had indicated that IRT will be set with fuel through April.
Yes, approximately through April or May, and then we'll be exceeding our budget after that. And we are going to approach the city and some other private investors to try to capitalize on that money ahead of time. And I will also be writing a letter to ADOT in January, explaining the current situation after the first quarter of the federal fiscal year.
So your fiscal year is aligned with the federal fiscal year?
I'm
That
sorry.
is the grant year, yes.
Yes,
That's the grant period.
That's the grant period is from October 1 to September 30th. So I'll have the first quarter in at the end of December. So around mid-January, I will contact ADOT and see what their situation is and availability of funds.
And CYMPO will be following up, as I mentioned, with ADOT Transit, who is responsible for the administration of these grants, and finding out if they have a sort of overarching plan to address these shortages, because I would imagine that just about every grantee is going to run into that.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Clerk, if you can just note Mr. Armstrong's present on the board.
Fashionably late.
Sir, you got a long way to come. Moving on to item 9, project update of Sundog Connector Design Concept Report and Environmental Overview. Ms. Post, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. So the Sundog Connector, the month of September is what I'm calling super duper September, starting with the Sundog Connector first public open house. It was a huge success and many of you were there, and I thank you very much. And then from there, we all embarked on a tour of our state with back-to-back conferences where we saw many of you and partied with you on the dance floor. So that was also really wonderful. In the meantime, AECOM is completing the summary of the feedback that we received at that first public meeting back on September 7th. And they will present that information to the Sundog Technical Advisory Committee at our next meeting on November 9th. Information presented will include draft design criteria, typical sections, and roadway alignments, and that's based on the feedback that we got from the public and from our stakeholders. Outside of the feedback requested at that first stakeholder meeting in June and at the open house, I personally have received approximately 30 unique emails from residents in our area in the Quad City and Yavapai County. Most simply offered their opinions on roadway features they'd like to see as a result of some questions that we were asking and positing on our website. 3 people that wrote in didn't offer any ideas for what they'd want to see. They just gave me a firm no, please don't move forward on this. 4 people were in favor of seeing the corridor be developed. So some of the main feedback that we're getting from folks is they're worried about congestion, obviously on 69, and capacity issues, and that this potential corridor would not do anything to relieve those issues. So we hope to provide enough data to speak to those and present that information to the public. And then there are concerns also about the environment and how this will impact wildlife corridors and our ecosystems. And so a huge component of the design concept report is, of course, the environmental overview. So I hope that at the end of this next year in September, we'll have some good information about the environmental overview. But it's also important to mention that our EMAC subcommittee is working towards efforts to mitigate some environmental concerns. So we work together to identify potential funding sources in the future, potential partnerships, scholarships that could afford us things like funnel fencing or potential bridges. And so we hope that we're discussing the concerns that folks have related to the environment in that EMAC subcommittee, and that we're addressing them in our stakeholder meetings as well. So those are the main concerns we've been hearing. As I mentioned, our next stack meeting is on November 9th. That's a virtual meeting where we'll learn about the input from the public. And then we'll have a stakeholder meeting in December. I will use the stack meeting coming up to figure out when that will be scheduled, and I'll alert everybody here in the room to that. So the stack meeting is attended by several people in your municipal staff, and we appreciate their time and their expertise. At this time, Mr. Chair, I do welcome any questions.
You have something, Phil?
Who do you anticipate attending that staff meeting?
Stack?
Staff meeting. So who and what staff?
Oh, yes. So several people are in the room here with us today. So Boyd is on the stack, the technical committee, Dan Cherry. So basically it's our TAC plus area planners and public works and engineers. So Tammy DeWitt from Prescott is part of the stack. She's also part of the EMAC, and so that's a good liaison to the both groups. Who else am I missing, Mr.
Yeah,
Davis?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Mayor Good, we've extended an invitation, and that's by all means open to other members of your staff. For you specifically, Mayor Good, though, we did extend an invite to the city manager, Michael Lamar. I believe that Tyler is on the list
Yes.
and is attending.
Brandon Montoya might as
Also
well.
economic development. So we want to get a cross section of key stakeholders throughout your staff. If we're happy to provide you with the list, and if you see a name on there that you would like to add to it, or you don't see a name you don't see on there, please let us know. But right now we do have a pretty decent participation
We do.
throughout the central Yavapai area.
And where will that meeting take place?
This stack meeting will be virtual only. The stakeholder meeting in December will be in person. Allison and I are working on finding a big enough space for that, and we'll alert you as soon as we have that available.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Bose, I just want to just commend you. I know it's a daunting task on what you have ahead of you, but the attitude you're taking in regards to taking on the information and the comments, and then trying to just not block people out, but be like, hey, this is what we're trying to do to work for things or work towards what you want. Because let's face it, you're going to get a lot of people that come out that are all no's, but you're not going to find many people that are like, you know what, honey, let's go to that meeting and say we really want a road. Like that doesn't
Right.
build excitement.
Right.
You know, you're not going to see that.
Yeah.
That just doesn't happen. I don't think I've ever had that conversation with my wife thinking, you know what, it's that night, we're going to go tell them.
Well, especially if you're going to miss Yellowstone on TV, you're not going to, no.
No, you're not wrong, man. So,
Right.
so I appreciate all the work, and a lot goes into this, and we're not taking anything for granted. And that's the whole point of what you're doing. So I just want
Thanks.
to commend you for that.
I appreciate that.
Anything else for Ms. Post?
Is there public comment on this action, on this agenda item?
We're actually not voting on anything during this portion of the,
That's fine, but is there public comment? Because I'd appreciate an opportunity to speak if it's presented.
well, we had public comment earlier.
But that's for items that are not on the agenda. This is about the item.
Yeah, so no, sir, we won't be speaking in regards to the public comment on this, but there will be an opportunity for you to attend another upcoming meeting and share your thoughts.
Yeah, Mr. Kaplan's on our stack. We're very grateful for his
There you go.
input.
So you are not allowing public comment, just to make the record clear.
Whatever you'd like to call it, sir. This is just not a time, procedure doesn't allow it. We're not eliciting public comment. So
That's not what the
thank you, sir.
comment card and instruction sheet say. I think that violates the open meeting.
Ms. Post, do you have anything else you'd like to,
No, Mr. Chair.
anything else from Ms. Post? Moving on, item 11. Oh, I'm sorry, moving on, item 10, review discussion and possible action to approve the professional service agreement with Kilston and Associates for the SR 69 urbanized corridor master plan.
Yeah, 10 times fast. Yes, item number 10. There were 4 proposals submitted in response to our RFP. The TAC acted as the scoring committee, with CYMPO staff providing a collective 1 score towards that end. And together we scored Kittleson's proposal as the highest, Kittleson and Associates. They're out of Phoenix. We scored them as we did due to the overall quality of the proposal, the experience of the project team, especially Vamshi Yelisetti, who is joining us here today. And due to the benefit of AECom acting as their subcontractor for that project, it provides a very direct connection to the Sundog Connector project, which was a requirement in our scope of work, being project management with Sundog Connector. So the fact that Kittleson and Associates has chosen AECom as a subcontractor is a perfect win for us. And so that led to one of the reasons why they scored as high as they did. For these reasons, we're presenting you with the draft professional services agreement, which was in your packet, and the consultant selection of Kittleson Associates for your consideration. In case there were any questions about this project, I did invite program manager Vamshi Yelisetti, and he's on the line. Vamshi is, as I mentioned, has a ton of experience, and his traffic modeling in particular is bar none. I don't know if anybody beats him. So we're really, really excited to have Vamshi on our team.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And so, Mr. Chair, I do welcome any questions if anybody has it.
No,
Mr. Chair, I have one question for Yamshi. I notice you're proposing using VISM mesoscopic traffic model. So can you describe the advantages of that type of modeling over a kind of a standard traffic demand study that is typically seen?
Yes, definitely. So the travel demand model, which we usually do for quarter studies, is more macro level and looks at traffic conditions on an average daily condition.
Right.
And the reason why we're proposing a wisdom mesoscopic model is it'll help us evaluate specific peak periods or peak hours, or even within the peak hour 15-minute intervals. And it helps us evaluate specifically which times during the day, which intersections are congested. That way, even if an intersection doesn't show up as congested on an average daily basis, Wisdom helps us evaluate during the peak periods, is it failing or not? So that is kind of the reason why we decided to go with a more mesoscopic level modeling.
Yeah, I'm just not familiar with that type of modeling, and I think it's sorely needed on these kind of commuter routes where I mean, I hate to say it, but Prescott now has a rush hour. So going through some of those congested areas, whether they're roundabouts or narrowed arterials, it's important to be able to identify where the real problems are and how best to offer solutions. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
anything else?
Mr. Chair, just one thing.
Mr. Gallagher.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, also, and forgive me, Lindsay, if you covered this already, but again, our intent is that we would be delivering you as a board the results from the Sundog Connector and then the State Route 69 Master Corridor Plan roughly about the same time. It's not going to be right on, but it'll be late fall, winter time of calendar year 23. Again, I know there's a great deal of feedback about the Sundog Connector and that the focus really needs to be on ADOT and improving the 69. So having heard that, again, that's the reason for these two parallel studies. So I just want to continue to repeat throughout the community that we hear the attention on 69. we believe that this master corridor plan will better give us information to for you all to understand respectively back to your councils and bodies of local government, what 69 actually needs and what that looks like. So I just want to be very clear that we hope to have both of these studies completed roughly about the same time so the region can make the priority decisions moving forward. Thank you.
Anything else? We're going to entertain a motion. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I move that we approve the selection of Kittleman for the master plan project designation.
Second.
Yeah, and we have a second. Then all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Voting,
I'm sorry, sir.
are you having public comment before you vote?
No, sir, we're not having public comment at this time. But if
So it doesn't matter whether you vote or not. Is that correct?
on this item, yes, sir.
I think that's a violation of the public application.
Moving on, item 11. ADOT Northwest District Report. Who will be speaking on this one? Sir.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you for having me. Anthony Brozich here to give an update on our projects in the district. Start off with the broadband project, I-17, Anthem Way to McGuireville. The installation has been completed. We are in the process of doing our testing, connectivity. That does take a little bit, but we're looking good there. On SR 69, the Big Bug 4 to Poland Junction section, we have done some spot repairs, but we've had to shut down the friction course for the winter. We have several projects in the valley here, or the area, that had to be shut down due to the friction course we had. Pretty much got rained down with some with all the weather we had. So you'll hear that a couple times moving on. The SR 89A Glassford Hills Road to Coyote Springs, that is also one of the ECFC friction course replacements that is currently in winter shutdown. And then we have the SR 89A, 89 to milepost 322 Glassford Hills. We have completed spot repairs there, but also in a shutdown for winter until we get the friction course back on. The Sunset Point Rest Area project, if you haven't noticed on 17 yet, that is closed to all but semis, tractor trailers, and we do have a temporary rest area installed at the exit for vehicle cars, trucks, no trailers.
Which exit?
Badger Springs.
Badger Springs.
Yes.
Can't miss it when you go down there.
Then the last project for ongoing is the Anthem Way to Sunset Point Flex Lane, third lane. If you haven't noticed that, there is a lot of earthwork happening. But for more information, I will direct you to the website for it's improving-i17.com. Can give you more up-to-date information on that. Projects in design. We have the TI at 169 I-17, where we're doing deck replacement. We are advertised and we anticipate bid openings in December. We have SR 69 Prescott Lakes to Frontier Village. That is still anticipated to go out to bid, advertised in December. The SR 69 Truewood to Stone Ridge Drive, our mill and fill project, we call it. We anticipate advertisement the second quarter of fiscal year 23, so still this year. SR 69 at 169 Roundabout. We had our kickoff design meeting for that. Our bid advertisement is, that is not right. I think it's fiscal year 24. Second quarter, sorry, typo. SR 169 Grant Woods Parkway to I-17, it's center line rumble strip that will advertise in the third quarter fiscal year 23. And then SR 89 mile post 339 to 369, Paul to Ash Fork is a center line rumble strip project as well in that 2-lane section. And I welcome any comments or questions.
So just confirming Highway 69 Truewood to Stone Ridge, you're getting bids in the second quarter of 23? Or starting in the second quarter of 23?
Bid advertisement.
Bid advertisement.
Yes.
Estimate start, you think?
Summertime.
Summertime?
Yeah.
Anthony, what triggers your winter shutdown? Is it purely a calendar trigger or is it temperature or what?
I'm glad you asked. It is both, depending on what type of material we're putting down. The rubberized asphalt that we're using up here does have a temperature spec. Add that to the fact that we are pretty busy on 89A and 69. We tried to do a lot of evening pavement jobs to do less disruption. Well, most of our rain we had was in the evening.
Right.
That kills the temperature requirements on the surface of the asphalt that we really need. So between that temperature, rain, and it being at night, those all kind of made a perfect storm that we just really couldn't get much production done. And now that we're out of the warmer days to where we think it's 75 degrees is what we need, just for surface temperature. We're just not getting that anymore.
Yeah. Understood. Thank you.
Anything else?
We had an extra month on the monsoon for a change. I mean, we appreciate the moisture, but
Yeah.
certainly slows down some of your road projects.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Moving on, item 12, State Transportation Board Report, Mr. Knight.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I really don't have too much to report this month.
Hang on a second, Gary.
Can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
I can.
Okay,
Gary, it shows you unmuted, but we can't hear you.
I'm unmuted.
Nope,
Uh,
we don't have him muted from the base, from us.
I can hear everything that's going on
Supervisor
in
Brown, will
there.
you say something just to make sure we can hear you okay?
Can you hear me now? Try to get
Can't
as
hear
close to the
me.
No, we have no
microphone as I
sound.
can.
Okay, hold on. We can't hear Craig or Gary, so just give us a moment.
Okay,
I'm not muted.
There we go.
Oh, I just heard Craig.
No, that was Gary.
Oh, that was Gary.
I can hear Craig.
Perfect.
Nope, you guys are good now.
Okay, we can hear you again.
You got it
All right,
now?
You're good.
Okay. Not much to report this month. As you know, the State Transportation Board meeting for this month is at Lake Havasu City on Friday of this week. There isn't anything on the agenda for CYMPO for this Transportation Board meeting. So I really don't have any more to report than the meeting will be on Friday in Lake Havasu City.
That's it. All right, anyone have a question about that? All right, before we move on to item 13, I want to bounce back to item 4, which is called the public. So, sir, I'm going to open call the public up if you'd like to come up here and speak. We're well ahead of time. But before you start, sir, I'd like to remind you, it's 3 minutes though, so please respect
I'll
the
be
time.
brief.
Thank you,
And I
sir.
appreciate the opportunity. I first wanted to thank Lindsay Post for including myself and other people from Navajo Hills on her couple of meetings that she commented on, and we appreciate that. My question on the 2 agenda items all relate to Sundog, and I've asked this repeatedly on a number of occasions. I'm trying to find out what the objective criteria are for the no build option that Mayor Good had insisted was included in this project when it was first put in place and was to be reviewed. And at all the meetings I've gone to, nobody's ever able to respond with what the objective criteria will be for evaluating the no build option. And I saw that on the new project, which you just approved for State Highway 69, the urban corridor, Sundog features very prominently in the presentation that was included in the agenda packet. And again, there's no articulation of what the criteria will be. And I think that's important so that the people who oppose this have an understanding of what this is all going to be based upon and built upon. And I know that was important when this project was still started. And I'm just trying to make sure that it's not something that's window dressing or lip service, but it's a real defined plan where the no build option is subject to certain criteria that everybody will understand up front. So I thank you for the time to speak.
And I'm sure Ms. Post is aware of that, and I'm sure she'll be reflecting back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else here that may have been confused on the call of the public that wishes to speak now? With that being said, we are going to move on to item 13, which is a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for coming. Unfortunately, y'all got to go.